Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be taking a look at what I thought was going to be a flight controller or stack from Flywoo, but it's actually a little 1S tiny drone. This is the Firefly 1S Nano. It is a 40mm quadcopter. This box is tiny. Actually has some of the specs on the back here, so you can see this is the TBS version. TBS on a 1S Nano quadcopter. How far have we come since the Hubsan H107D? It just blows my mind. Then we have got the camera. It says that it is a Flywoo own camera. Battery 1S. Motors are the Robo 802.4, and then the all-in-one board we have got the Goku F4 5-in-1 1S with a 250 milliwatt VTX. Pretty incredible, isn't it? And if we take a look on Flywoo's website, you can see that there's just so many options. But this one that I have got here, the TBS Crossfire one, is $149. Quite a lot of money for such a small thing. Other options, we've got PMP, so you can add your own receiver. We have got SPI FR Sky, try and avoid that if you can, and ELRS 2.4. So that is superb. Now, there's been a couple of revisions of this guy. Look at the box that it comes in. Oh, you can just about see it underneath there. There's a couple of warnings here, so please do not try to update the ESC firmware if all-in-one is damaged. So the flight controller ESCs, Flywoo does not support after sales. So yeah, it's a strong warning there. And it says that there has been a change log here. They've modified the bottom plate so that it is more reasonable and strong. The battery can be placed horizontally or vertically. They've upgraded it to GNB27 V2 connectors. This is a pain because the only supplier of GNB batteries in the UK is AndyRC, and I just don't have any of those, and I think they've only got the 650 milliamp hour battery in stock. They are recommending a 450 milliamp hour, which is interesting because if you look down here on the battery here, they sell 750 milliamp hour as an option, but I think that might make it a little bit too heavy. But yeah, we've got more specs on here. So weight 20.4 grams. You can see there the propellers are the gem fan. 1.2 gram Flywoo camera. Not much information about that. And yeah, it is saying here about pH2. So presumably you're going to get a pH2 adapter in here, hopefully, otherwise we can't fly it. Flight time 8 minutes with a 450 milliamp hour 1S LiPo pH2. Anyways, let's see what we have got in the box. We've got one of these doodahs in there. Experiencing problems, customer service card, QR code, etc. Haha! Thank goodness. Now, it's not going to perform as well with one of these. The idea with the GNB27 connector is that it is much better at providing current to these small models, which is important because you get a bottleneck with these pH2 connectors. Even if they are solid pin connectors, you get lots of battery sag, and your flight times are shorter, and a little bit of heat as well. So I'm glad that you get one of those. We've got a bunch of screws and nuts. These are the 40mm gem fan propellers. They are a dual blade, interestingly. Looks like we get 2 sets of those. got a 3D printed part, and we also have got a lens protector in a separate bag. I never use these, I probably should do. Then we have got the quadcopter itself, which is in like, it's so tiny, it's unbelievable, in this little tiny wrapped thing. What else have we got? No, we got a mini screwdriver, and we have got a Flywoo sticker. So I guess there's nothing there, but I guess, you know, maybe that's for some of the accessories that you can buy alongside it. My goodness, this thing is so tiny. It's just not going to translate on the camera. So the frame design, it's a dead cat design. The way that they have mounted the TBS antenna is just sort of like across here. I guess it's difficult, really. You know, this is the small antenna, you know, the smallest antenna that you can get for Crossfire, and it still kind of is the same size as the model, so you can use that as a reference for how big the thing is. As I say, we went through the specs of the motors and the all-in-one and all of that business. We've got TPU here, and very minimalistic camera, so I have to see what the quality is there. And this is where they have mounted the TBS receiver here. Yeah, doesn't fit bad actually. So this is the GNB27 connector. I wish I had some of those batteries so that we could show the full performance, but they're difficult to get hold of, especially here in the UK, so maybe it'll help you out knowing how this thing flies with the PH2 adapter. What did they say it weighs? They said something like 20 grams, didn't they? I haven't got the props on, and of course all of that is, you know, it's going to vary depending on what receiver you have got and stuff like that. That's 22 grams, and we don't have the props on. I think a lot of that is just going to be this antenna and receiver, honestly, but yeah, it's going to be incredibly lightweight. Battery wise, I'm going to be using one of these Emax 450 milliamp hour PH2 batteries, and hopefully that will slot in underneath there. It's a bit of a tight fit, but yeah, that does go in there like that. But I need to charge some of these up. Let's see if we can take a look at anything else. Yeah, the frame's pretty thick. You know, it's so light. I'd be very surprised, unless you smashed it into a concrete wall, that it would break. So we've got a linear antenna for the VTX. Again, amazing power out of this thing, but we'll have to see how it performs, of course. Then we've got the USB on the top there to access Betaflight. But yeah, these days with quadcopters, even when they're this tiny, there's not really that much to talk about. Everything is all in one, and that's about it, really. So we do have some hex screws here, but the motors there are screwed on with like really tiny Phillips screws, so if you did want to tinker around with that, then you would need, they look like, I imagine, 1.5mm hex screws. Alrighty tidy, let's take a look in the Betaflight configuration. It's come flash with version 4.2.8. Let's check the ports tab. So we've got two UARTs. One is utilized by the Crossfire receiver, and the other one is the VTX, which is using the TRAMP protocol. So you couldn't add anything else. Not that I think you could, because I don't think it could carry anything else. You know, the thing is already so tiny and being pushed to the max, being 1S. Let's check out the configuration. So props in, so that's important to note before you go sticking the props on. D-Shot 300 motor stop is on, so actually want to turn that off personally. Let's see, ESC sensor, bidirectional D-Shot. Does that mean it's come with JESC? Is that why they are sort of stressing about not changing the firmware and stuff? Anyways, board alignment, so some stuff going on in there. Gyro update frequency 8K, 2K. So I don't know if this is using JESC or whatever, but anyways, that's usually the case when it's D-Shot 300 and bidirectional D-Shot is enabled. If we go into the motors, yeah, it is, yeah, because that's what JESC is. Anyway, so back into the configuration, we have got a craft name, Flyworm, already set up for Crossfire, the version that, you know, if you have bought. So hopefully, you know, if you bought any of the other versions, then it's set up for that, although you would use CRSF for ELRS anyways. We've got the maximum arm angle at 180, which is good. Dynamic filter, OSD, air mode. We've got air mode, so motor stop doesn't matter anyways, does it? Anyways, right, so let's see, LED strip and telemetry. Yeah, we want both of these on. It's not got an onboard beeper, and you know, this isn't going to make much noise at all, if any, because of the size of the motors, but I like to do it anyways, you know, just in case. Probably find that arming the motors would make more of a noise, but then you could risk burning out a motor, especially when they are this small and fragile. So those are the changes I would make there. Let's go into power and battery, and we just want that to 3.3, probably lower, especially using the PH2 pins. Because it's just going to sag, and then you're just going to get flashing voltages on your on-screen display. PID tuning. I'm not going to touch any of this, but looks like they have messed around with it there. Let's check out the... Oh, actually, have we got any other profiles? No, so... Yeah, they have PID tuned this guy. Look at those numbers, man, they're so high. It looks like, you know, too high, but sometimes you have to do this, especially on something unusual like a small model. You have to use unusual PID values. I've done it in the past. As long as the motors aren't getting warm, it's not doing any damage, no problem. Rate profile settings, so they are using Betaflight. It doesn't look like, so let's just check through all of these. Yeah, so it doesn't look like they've got any rate profiles in there, so I'm just going to stick my very conservative rates these days. The older I get, the lower my rates get. I used to run at 0.8, but it's a little bit too fast for my brain these days. Let's see if we've got anything here. So no throttle limit or anything like that. I'll go on to save receiver. So we want TAER is what I use. I usually stick some RC deadband in there just so that, you know, you get a little bit of fluctuation. Even with Hall sensor gimbals, you get a little bit of fluctuation. So I usually stick 7 in there, or 5 if it's not too bad, but 7 is a figure that, you know, I usually go for, and it usually works well. Let's see, modes arm. I have that on the AUX 1. Angle mode, what? They've just gone straight for horizon. No. Is that add range? Yeah, okay, so AUX 2. I have angle mode first, you know, just to check that there's no problems. Let's see what else we have got down here. Beeper, I'm going to add a beeper on the AUX3, stick that over there. And have they got flip over after crash? I think that's a really bad decision for a model this small. You know, if you got those motors stuck in grass, and it's bye-bye everything, I would say. Just my opinion. Alright, on-screen display, what have we got here? Oh, blimey, we've got a lot of stuff on here. They've sort of all crammed it in as well. Is there anything I get rid of? I get rid of the warnings. I get some stick for that, but you know, they just bother me. I also don't like the why on a 1S model have we got the average cell voltage and then the full voltage, because we're only 1S, so we can get rid of the average battery voltage, and then just like move this down. So this is gonna look all very cramped, isn't it, on the OSD, but that's what I'm gonna go with. Yeah, so what else? It's interesting, they've got the core temperature, so I imagine with everything being so small that you know, they've got that on there for monitoring. You don't want on time. Oh, what is the point in on time? Where is that? Let's that's timer 1, isn't it? Let's get rid of on time, bring you down like that. I totally wouldn't have my OSD like this, by the way. So yeah, we've got all sorts of stuff there, haven't we? RSSI and dBm value, and then the RSSI value, and then the link quality. This one I would definitely have on there. Just wondering if there's anything that would be useful for the review. Usually the throttle amount. So apologize for my dyslexia while I find that. Ah, there we go. Throttle position. Let's stick that above there like that, so that, you know, just looks even more cramped. And I think that is it. Okay, so press save video transmitter. Let's just take a look, and then let's see if they set it up right. Yeah, okay, yeah, so yeah, looks like that's all set up absolutely fine. So there we go. The only bit that you are not going to see is me buying into Crossfire, just because it is really simple. Alrighty, let's go for a line of sight flight with this guy. Now, it might be difficult for the camera to pick it up because it's so tiny. Like, that is literally an inch away from my face, but because the GoPro has a wide angle, it's not even on like hyper smooth mode, it's gonna look like it's not even close. Now, when it takes off, there's a little bit of a flutter, which makes it sound like there's a tuning issue, but that goes away as soon as you're in the air. So just an initial problem. Okay, let's take it into acro. I don't know how much of this you're gonna see. I'll try and keep it in as close as possible, but it really is like trying to film a sort of like large insect, really. Nice and quiet. Let's check out the punch. That's full throttle, so you know, if you're gonna be flying it outside, it's gonna need to be a really calm day. I'm lucky here in that I can fly it in this indoor sports hall. Now, one thing to note, especially if you're using the PH2 adapter like I am here, is you might first fire it up and one of the motors won't spin. And that doesn't mean that it's broke. That's actually quite normal. We are asking so much out of this 1S LiPo. And what happens with any quadcopter is to get the motor initially spinning, they have to have sort of like a burst of voltage. It's actually a setting in BL Halley or whatever ESC firmware you're running. But of course, you know, we are stressing everything here, and sometimes that motor won't spin. How do you fix that? Personally, I just give the motor a flick and then it will just start spinning. In fact, that happened the first time that I armed this guy, but it's not doing it anymore. Front left motor. Absolutely amazing what we can do these days, and I'm sure it's just only going to get more amazing. Trying to get close to the camera again, but it's not going to look close. It's going to look like a little tiny dot probably. Now you'll get a good flight time out of these if you swap to an XT30 connector or the GNB27, but not if you are flying with PH2, as you can see. There we go, how about that? Twins.
They're slowly taking over the world.
Now the problem is, Gareth. Yeah, which one's mine? Shall we? Yeah, should we do a couple of flips? Oh goodness.
Isn't it nice that they've got the same drill?
Like the shuffling that.
What was it that made you go for this one? Just because it was small and something?
Doing the research really, reading up about them. Originally I was looking at the one that Reeves got, but I wanted something for duration. That was the key thing I needed, duration. Because I got sick of taking off, doing 3 or 4 circuits, then the battery's dead. And
Yeah.
back in. And you can't get any practice doing that, can you?
Really quite amazing that something 1S these days can be used for duration, because even like 5 years ago that just wasn't possible. Look at that, you see, I don't know if you could see, but I got it. That's not me, I'm not doing that.
So, what happens if that?
Whoa! It pointed me at the ground. Alrighty, let's go for an FPV flight with this guy. A little bit challenging today because we have got a lot of people flying analog FPV. Also indoors, lots of multipathing and reflections and stuff. So the first thing to know is the camera is in a 16:9 aspect ratio, not 4:3. Which means if you have only got 4:3 goggles, then you're looking at the image stretched. Now these HDO2s that I'm recording on here, they do have a 16:9 aspect ratio option, so everything is looking pretty nice. Now you might notice that on the right hand side, at least it's showing for me, sometimes the DVR cuts it off, we have got some of the lens in shot, showing as sort of like a half circle on the right hand side of the screen. With these tiny cameras, it is really difficult to get that lined up, but you know, it's something that needs mentioning. I think I try not to be too harsh, because I'm remembering 2013 where we had the Hubsan H107D with brushed motors a terrible field of view, and now we just have this amazingness. So when it comes to the link quality, RSSI, and also the RSSI DB, if you just set the RSSI and Betaflight to disabled, and also have ADC disabled, then everything just works, which is just absolutely brilliant. As you can see, link quality 100%. And I think it's RSSI 46, 47, 45, whatever. Okay, let's talk about the tune. Tune's really good. We're indoors here, so, you know, we don't have any external, you know, complications like wind and stuff. You want a really calm day to fly this. Let's check out the voltage. It's actually holding the voltage quite well, considering I'm using PH2. But if you use an XT30 or, you know, the GNB27, you get much longer flight time, less voltage sag. Looking at the amp draw, 4 amps. Yeah, no complaints about the tune. I mean, you know, you're going to have to manage your energy much more than you would a more powerful quad, but you know, you can do acro and stuff no problems, and it's pretty speedy as well. Let's take a look at the temperature, 30 degrees C. Obviously we've got airflow over the top of that, but be very careful with it sitting on the desk, even with just like the USB plugged in. I'm running at 50 milliwatts here on the VTX, which will help with the heat. And I've also turned down the power on the Crossfire as well. Yeah, flies superb. We just got a blink there from the battery, 3.2, so should probably come in for a landing. That's a flight time of 4 minutes. I'm hearing flight times of 7 to 10 minutes if you swap out that connector, so make sure that you do that. So Gareth has been kind enough to lend me his 550 milliamp hour GNB 1S LiPo with an XT30 adapter on it, so let's see how it performs like that. Alrighty, so we are GNB 550 milliamp and XT30 adapter. So from GNB27 to XT30, we've got someone trying to bully us down here. Alright. Flies exactly the same as it does with a 450 milliamp hour, except the voltage. Look at that, the voltage is more stable, 3.8, 3.7. This is where you're going to get the longer flight times, but not with me doing daft acro like I like to do. Well, a little bit of a wobble there on the descent, probably just the extra weight that. Need to be careful not getting so close to the ground because it's so deceiving with these tiny models. Where is he? Where is he? Look at that, we're faster than him, even on 1S. Yeah, just on the descent really, the rolls are nice and smooth, it can take the bigger batteries. Yeah, just there, just a little bit of a wobble. Oh, that sounded expensive. What have we got happening over here? Is it a car crash? It's a something crash. Let's have a look at what the voltage is doing. 3.6 volts. Not bad at all. 2-minute flight time so far. Yeah, the heavier batteries, just a little bit of oscillation on the tune. But other than that, you know, if you just want to cruise and stuff and not do flip-flops and stuff, probably better off going for the bigger battery. Oh yeah, there's plenty of power, even though I smashed the ground there. Plenty of power. I have to say, you know, I'm really enjoying flying this. You know, some people might say, oh, why? Go and look back, like 2013, when we were modifying Hubsan H107Ds just to try and get just a wider angle out of them. By the way, those had 10 milliwatt VTXs and brushed motors. This is running Betaflight, incredibly smooth tune. In fact, I hear some people are running the Cadex Peanut on the top of them, but I can't imagine you get a long flight time with that. But still, you know, it's possible. We've got the Drift King over here, Fubar Phil. Oh, lost him. There he goes. Well, let's look at that, man. 3.5 volts, and I think that's at the point where the PH2 one died, and this one just wants to keep going. So I can easily see a 7-minute flight time with this different connector and a slightly bigger battery. Now, Gareth, who's lent me this battery, did say that he is running these batteries in and hasn't been taking it below 3.5 volts. We're at 5 minutes already, 3.5 volts, and I think it's just going to keep on going. So I'm going to honor, you know, his request, because he's been kind in lending me this. And yeah, there you go. So let's come in for a landing. That's 5:20, and we're just under 3.5 volts. That's incredible for these days. So yeah, definitely a different connector for sure. But there you go. That is my review of the Firefly 1S. I'll put a link in the video description as well as a pinned comment if you wish to get one. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.